It's a blazing summer afternoon in Britain. The air is humming with the distant jingle of the ice cream van. Kids are scrambling for loose change, and you're already dreaming of the first lick of that cool, creamy cone. But here's the twist: some of those brands that define childhood summers, the ones we queued up for outside the corner shop or begged for at the seaside, are gone, vanished, melted away into history. Today, we're scooping into 15 British ice cream brands that faded away, the ones that once ruled freezers, seaside promenades, and corner shops before quietly disappearing. Do you remember them all? Or maybe there's one here that'll suddenly unlock a memory you'd forgotten. Let's dig in. Lyons Maid. If there's one name that instantly brings back memories of British childhood summers, it's Lyons Maid. Founded in the 1920s, it became a staple of British ice cream by the mid-century, with its iconic red and white, striped logo that seemed to pop up everywhere on vans, kiosks, and shop freezers. Lyons Maid wasn't just about vanilla cones, it was about fun, imagination, and being part of something bigger than just ice cream. Remember the Zoom Rocket Lolly? That wasn't just a treat, it was a piece of history. Launched during the height of the space race, it captured the excitement of the era. Kids would run to the van with coins clutched in their hands, eager to taste the brightly colored layers, pretending they were astronauts blasting off to the moon. The company was also behind classics like Fab, with its strawberry ice, chocolate, coating, and hundreds and thousands topping a lolly that felt like a celebration in itself. Then, there was the Haunted House lolly with spooky-themed packaging, the Sea Lion bar, and countless promotional tie-ins with football teams, films, and TV shows. Lyons Maid mastered the art of making ice cream feel like an event by the 90s. Though, the brand couldn't compete with the massive marketing machines of Walls and Nestle. For many, the disappearance of Lyons Maid wasn't just about a logo disappearing from shop windows, it was about losing a slice of cultural childhood. Midland counties, dairy ice cream, long before supermarkets had walls of Häagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry's, Britain's local dairies dominated the ice cream trade. Midland County's dairy, with its creamy simple tubs, was once a household name across the Midlands. Families trusted it because it felt local. It came from nearby farms, churned fresh, and sold in corner shops and cafes. The tubs themselves were iconic. Plain cardboard, sometimes with nothing more than a simple logo and flavor printed across the lid. No flashy branding, no exotic flavor names, just wholesome, straightforward ice cream. And that was the beauty of it. For many, the Sunday ritual involved picking up a tub of Midland County's vanilla or strawberry from the corner shop freezer, often nestled next to bottles of dandelion and burdock, or glass milk bottles with foil tops. It wasn't just about taste, it was about familiarity. You knew it came from the same local dairy that delivered milk to your doorstep each morning. That connection made it feel personally most like the ice cream was part of the community itself. But, as consolidation swept through the industry in the 70s and 80s, regional dairies like Midland Counties couldn't compete with national giants who offered more products, more advertising, and cheaper prices, thanks to mass production. Today, many still swear it had the best vanilla, around rich, milky, and utterly simple. Ask someone who grew up in the Midlands, and they'll tell you there was something honest about Midland County's ice cream. No frills, no gimmicks, just pure, creamy nostalgia that sadly melted away with time. Eldorado Icy Cream in Scotland, Eldorado was legendary. Their slogan, Eldorado, there's nothing like it. And for a time, that was true. Sold from brightly painted vans and shops across Scottish towns, children would sprint at the sound of the jingle, pocket money clutched tight, ready to swap coins for a cone piled high with that unmistakably creamy scoop. Eldorado's range was vast. They produced traditional cones and tubs, but also novelty lollies that felt tailor-made for the playground. Ask a Scot of a certain age though, and they'll tell you, Eldorado was the taste of their youth, the flavor of long summer nights, seaside trips, and pocket money joy. Even today, the name sparks instant nostalgia, reminder of a brand that truly lived up to its slogan, Midland. Mister Softee vans do. You remember the Mister Softee vans? Imported from America, they became a sensation in the UK during the swinging 60s. With their soft-serve cones, bold cartoonish branding, and that unforgettable jingle echoing through suburban streets. For kids, it was theatre on wheels. The swirl of ice cream spiraling out of the machine, the flourish of sprinkles, the final push of a chocolate flake hit was performance as much as it was dessert. For those who remember them, the Mister Softee vans weren't just about ice cream, they were about chasing the sound of that jingle on a hot day, standing in line with friends, and savoring a cone before it dripped down your wrist. Today, they're a sweet little memory of a time when even ice cream had its own touch of American glamour. Midland Dairy's old-fashioned tubs. There was a time when ice cream tubs weren't crammed with exotic flavors like salted caramel pretzel or pistachio almond fudge. Midland Dairy's old-fashioned tubs were about straightforward comfort, vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate. These were the ones mums proudly pulled out after Sunday roast. The whole family crowded around the table. They lacked glamour, but they had charm. There was something wholesome about their simplicity. El Dorado, cool lollies beyond ice cream. El Dorado dabbled in lollies that became playground legends. Their cool lollies, in neon colors, were cheap, cheerful, and guaranteed to stain your tongue for hours. Cola flavor, cherry limit, didn't matter. They were pocket money treasures. But as bigger players started churning out cheaper, shinier lollies with cartoon tins, El Dorados faded into the background. Today, you might find a knockoff version in discount shops, but the original El Dorado cool lollies, long gone. Midland Dairy Cornetsu remembers buying a pre-packed cornet from the shop freezer. Midland Dairy sold multi-packs of cornets that came with a wafer cone, a ball of ice cream, and a swirl of sauce frozen on top. Simple shop-bought cones that felt like a treat at home. These were big in the 70s, but once Cornetto exploded onto the UK market, Midland's cones couldn't compete. Cornetto brought slick advertising, better packaging, and that crunchy chocolate-lined cone. Midland Dairy's version disappeared almost overnight. Funny Feet, okay, this one's controversial. Funny Feet, the strawberry ice cream shaped like a cartoon foot, was technically made by Walls, not an independent brand. But it's one of those vanished oddities people still talk about. Kids loved them, partly because they were silly, partly because they were sweet and soft. They vanished in the early 2000s, only to make a brief comeback years later, but the relaunch didn't stick. Today, Funny Feet is filed away in Britain's collective freezer memory. Alongside other novelty treats that time forgot, Dairy Brick Bloxby, 4 family-sized tubs became the norm. Ice cream was sold in blocks-wrapped rectangles you'd slice and place between wafers at home. Midland Dairy's bricks were a Saturday night ritual. Buy a block, grab a packet of wafers, and make DIY ice cream sandwiches. The practice slowly disappeared as brands leaned into tubs, cones, and impulse buys. The block of ice cream, practical, affordable, and oddly charming, just couldn't survive. But ask your grandparents, and they'll tell you, it was the ultimate family treat. 10. If you grew up in Essex or parts of East London, Horne's ice cream was iconic. Their vans, with cheerful logos and jingles, were everywhere in the 70s and 80s. Horne's built a loyal following. But like so many local ice cream makers, they struggled once the supermarkets took over. By the 90s, Horne's was fading fast. Today, you might find a few mentions in local history groups. But for most, Horne's is just a distant memory, one of dozens of beloved local brands swept aside by national giants, the Neapolitan Block 3 flavors. Side by side, chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Midland Dairy's version was in every corner, shop, freezer. Kids loved the novelty of scooping across all 3 layers, while parents loved the value. But over time, Neapolitan lost its shine. Supermarkets still sell it, but Midland's version, wrapped in old-school packaging, is gone. To many, it represents a simpler era when you didn't need 40 flavors to make dessert. Exciting back to Mister Softee for a moment, because they didn't just do cones. Their pre-packed sundaes in plastic cups were a favorite. topped with sauce and sprinkles. They were an attempt to bring the ice cream parlor home. They never quite matched the fun of getting a sundae in person. And once other brands launched flashier versions, Mister Softee's quietly vanished. But in the 70s, these were a genuine novelty sundae in your freezer at home. Do you remember ice lollies that came with jokes on the sticks? Midland Dairy did their own version, and kids adored them. The lollies were cheap and cheerful, and the jokes, often groan-worthy, were half the fun. Why did the ice cream go to school? Because it wanted to be a smarty. That kind of humor. The tradition has mostly died out, replaced by sleek, branded lollies. But for a time, Midland's joke lollies were playground currency. One of Eldorado's bestsellers was their Ripple ice cream, vanilla swirled with chocolate or raspberry sauce. Sold in tubs, it was indulgent but affordable. But when brands like Viennetta and Häagen-Dazs began offering more sophisticated desserts, Eldorado's Ripple felt old-fashioned. It quietly slipped off shelves. Still, anyone who grew up in Scotland during its heyday swears it was unbeatable. Finally, we can't forget Midland Dairy's banana splits, not the elaborate sundae, but the pre-packed lolly. It had banana-flavored ice cream coated in chocolate, quirky, distinct, and unlike anything else in the freezer aisle. Sadly, banana flavor fell out of fashion, and so did these lollies. By the late 80s, they were gone. Today, they're remembered fondly by those who loved their odd but charming taste. So there you have it, 15 British ice cream brands and products that melted away with time. Some were taken over, some were beaten by bigger names, and some just belonged to a different era. But here's the thing. Ice cream isn't just about taste, it's about memory. It's about hearing the van's jingle, unwrapping a lolly with your mates, or fighting over the last scoop of Neapolitan. When these brands disappeared, they didn't just take flavors with them, they took a little piece of our shared summers. Which of these do you remember? Did you have a local favorite that deserves a spot on this list? Drop it in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more scoops of Britain recalled.